Fab, ciao, welcome. After kind of a
Yeah.
barren spell in the UEFA Champions League, what would you attribute the renaissance that we've seen this season of Italian clubs and Italian football in this competition?
Yes, I think we have to give massive credits to Napoli because I think what they are doing is really special. They were perfect on the market, as we always mention, with Kim, with Kvaratskhelia, and many other signings, but also kind of football they play, the energy. This is a modern team. This is a European team. For Inter and Milan, is a bit different. This is the feeling. They play different kind of football. They are still a step behind in the process, I would say, compared to Napoli because they need maybe some more player in the next 1-2 years to be at that level, but at least they are there. So this is a positive news. And my expectation is for Napoli, honestly, to go through because they have a fantastic team. But for Inter and Milan, the good news is to be there. The good news is to build on a difficult financial situation because they were really rebuilding the squad, especially Milan, by signing players. I always love to mention what they did, for example, for the defense. I think the real point for Milan is the defense. Malik Chao, 6 million euros. Pierre Kalulu, free agent. Fikayo Tomori, 29 million euros. Mike Maignan, 15 million euros. So 50 million euros for 5 players. And this is something really special, what they're doing.
Yeah.
Inter have some experienced players, but I think Napoli are the big statement for Italian football in this moment. And this is why I see them as favorites of this side of the draw.
Everybody out there, you're watching House of Champions. It's Ian Joy alongside my co-host Michael Hood, Nigel Rio Coker, and we have the main man, Fabrizio Romano, in the house. We have a comment coming in from Tiny Keabetswe. He's asking about Lukaku. Let's talk about Lukaku, Fabrizio. What is the latest on his situation, and what does the future look like for Lukaku?
Yes, I saw many reports after Intersio Marotta ahead of the Porto game. He said Lukaku will go back to Chelsea. I think what he wanted to say is the reality. So this is a straight loan. There is no buy option. So officially, Romelu Lukaku at the end of the season will go back to Chelsea. But Inter knows so well that they will have conversations with Chelsea to keep Romelu Lukaku. They will speak about the potential loan also for the next season. It also depends on the coach. As I already mentioned here, it depends on the coach because he's not sure yet that Simone Inzaghi is going to be the coach for next season. He's still under contract, but it's something that has to be decided at the end of the season. Also, it depends on Chelsea, how much they want for Romelu Lukaku, because it's not just about the huge salary, but also about the loan fee. For example, last summer to sign Romelu Lukaku, it took around 9 million euros loan fee to Inter. So there are many points, but what Inter mean when they say Romelu Lukaku will go back is that it's a normal loan. There is no buy option, and then they will discuss at the end of the season. What I can mention is that, from what I understand, Chelsea are not planning with Romelu Lukaku for next season. So I see him leaving the club in any case. And I think that Romelu Lukaku really wants to stay at Inter. So he will push to stay at Inter in good conditions. So this is the expectation.
Fabrizio, now I'm a big Napoli fan this season in what I've seen football-wise. My question is this. With the amazing season that they have, if they win Serie A and obviously do well and get to the final in the Champions League, what's the chances of Napoli selling two of the most after players at their club in Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen? Will that happen if they lose both, or would you say they lose one?
I think they will try to keep at least one. It's not going to be easy, honestly, because when you have this kind of players with this kind of salary, because the point is the salary also. It's not just about the value of the player, but they don't have crazy salaries. And we know how top European clubs, maybe from Premier League or La Liga, they can offer crazy salaries to these players. So this is why it's not easy at all. But at the moment, Napoli are, I think, have been really perfect in the strategy because not just of the signings, but how they are isolating the squad. In this moment, it's impossible to negotiate with Napoli for any club, for any agent. They are not negotiating. They don't want to open talks with any club. So I think that it's going to be something really slow for Osimhen and Kvaratskhelia talks. It's going to be something for the summer, June, July, not March, not April, not May. This is the idea of Napoli. And it's also important to mention that the feeling now is that for Osimhen, there are many clubs already looking for a center striker. For example, Man United, Chelsea, and many others around Europe are looking for that kind of player. And so I think it's going to be really difficult to keep the player. For Kvaratskhelia, he's super appreciated around Europe, but many clubs already have that kind of player in their roster, in their team. For example, Chelsea invested on Mykhailo Mudryk. For example, Arsenal have Gabriel Martinelli extending the contract. For example, Real Madrid have Vinicius Junior. So it's not easy probably to invest that money when you already have a player in that place. This is why I think Osimhen is the most dangerous situation for Napoli.
Fab, a question from the chat, and I love the talk about Italian football. We'll keep it on that. Question from the chat from Mir Safayette. She said, the future of Rafa Leao. Can you give us some updates on that? Paraphrasing for Mir Safayette there.
Yes, I know that they are worried, and this is normal because Milan and Leao side, both sides, already in November, in December, they were expecting to, they were prepared to sign a new deal, and then this new deal is never signed. This is the point. Every single time we hear Leao wants to stay, Milan want to extend the contract, but there is still no full agreement. Milan are waiting for Leao because Milan have made their proposal. It's a really important proposal for Italian football because it's more than 7 million euros salary per season net. And this is a really important salary, I would say, for Italian football at least. And so they're waiting for Leao to answer. They're still in negotiation. They hope to have a final answer before the Champions League quarterfinals. So April is the month where they hope to get things done. But again, it depends on the player. Milan did their best. Milan did a fantastic proposal, and so they're waiting for Rafa Leao. Let me remind that his contract is expiring in June 24, and so if they can find an agreement with Leao before the summer, I think we have to keep an eye on the player in the summer transfer window.
You're watching House of Champions, everybody. Please make sure you like, subscribe, comment. If you've got a question for Fabrizio, please drop it in the comments as soon as possible before we get to this Europa League draw. Fabrizio, I want to ask about Manchester United, but before I do, there was news breaking from Crystal Palace this morning. Patrick Vieira has been relieved of his duties or stepped away from the position. What next for Crystal Palace? And I guess I should ask you, what next for Patrick Vieira? Because he has been around. He's spent some time in Major League Soccer. He spent some time in France. He's now spent some time in the Premier League. He certainly is a household name for a lot of clubs out there who I would imagine would want to have a great person like Patrick Vieira in charge of their football club. So what does the future look like on both ends for Palace and for Patrick?
Yes, for Palace, it's now time to decide. This afternoon, they will meet, told internally, to discuss about potential options, to meet with managers and decide as soon as possible who is the right man to become the new coach. So there will be the meeting today afternoon. It's going to be important to understand how Palace will proceed, if they want an experienced manager or if they want to keep going with that kind of manager, young manager with fresh ideas. So they will decide probably in the next 24, 48 hours. And it's also important to mention that Patrick Vieira is really appreciated into the industry. I'm with you 100%. He's really appreciated by directors, by players. He's really appreciated because he's always been respectful with the players. The players love him. This is something really important. And this is why it was not easy for Crystal Palace to decide like that. Also, the statement today was, we didn't want to proceed with that kind of decision, but because of the results, we needed something different. But I'm sure that Patrick Vieira will be back very soon, probably in the summer, because in France he's appreciated. In England, he has obviously a very big reputation. Also in Italy, where he played, of course, with Inter, Milan, and Juventus. I'm sure that Patrick Vieira has many clubs appreciating him, and so I think in the summer it will be time for him to.
Did you say Inter there, Fabrizio? Did you say Inter right there?
Yes, of course.
Ooh, Inzaghi.
No. But I don't think they are looking for that kind of coach, honestly. But never say never.
Not yet, Fabrizio. Not yet.
Yeah, I'm a little bit salty, Fab, that Palace sacked Patrick Vieira on St. Paddy's Day, and that quote coming from our producer Des Norris, up the Irish and up the Paddies everywhere. Moving further north in the Premier League, Manchester United, Fab, every time you're on the show, I have to ask you, what is the latest with the ownership or the takeover deal? Please tell me it's happening.
Yes, it's a crucial hours, because yesterday the Qatari delegation was in Manchester, not with Sheikh Al Thani, but his delegation in Manchester to talk to Manchester United and to discuss about this potential takeover. Same today for the Ineos group with Sir Jim Ratcliffe in person at Old Trafford and Carrington in the afternoon to open talks and discuss about this big movement for Manchester United. It's important to mention that the Glazers want around 6 to 7 billion pounds to sell Manchester United. So the negotiation is still at early stages, but the meetings are taking place. What I can say is that on Qatari side, they are really confident. They feel that their bid is the best one. They feel that they can make it, also investing a lot on the facilities, training ground, the stadium, and of course, the team. They want to trust the academy. So they're preparing something really big, and they feel that they are favorites to buy Manchester United. But Sir Jim Ratcliffe is now in Manchester, so he's still 100% into the race. He wants to do something important for the club too. So I think it's pretty clear that now this is the race. Ineos group, Qatari group, and it will be decided in the next weeks, months. But I think the positive news for Manchester United is that things are happening now, so ahead of the summer transfer window. It could help the club to have a clear strategy in the summer, a new owner ahead of the summer, and so to complete the squad. They already did a very good job, I think, with Erik ten Hag in the last 8-9 months, but next summer is going to be crucial. The manager and people close to him feel that next summer is a crucial one for Man United to add maybe 2-3 more players in the correct positions and bring Manchester United to the top of Premier League.
Fab, just to stay on the Manchester United theme then, what would you say from your knowledge is the one position that Manchester United would desperately want this summer? What's the number one target for Manchester United player-wise?
Traditional center striker. This is what they want. This is something they already wanted last summer. Then they decided to wait because that kind of player was not available in the summer. So they decided to sign Fagers on a loan deal in January. But the expectation is for Man United to go for that kind of player, traditional number 9, in the summer. So to play with Rashford on the left, with Anthony or any other player like Sancho, Garnacho, and the others they have on the other side, and then a center striker, a traditional number 9. I expect them also to explore the midfielders market because it's something that they wanted to do also last summer, and they signed Casemiro, but I think they can add one more player in that position. And then I think the real priority has to be Marcus Rashford contract. He's out of contract in summer 24, 1 year left on his contract. They can't wait too much because he's literally on fire. All the top clubs are watching the situation. And so Man United have to be fast. And I think this is going to be a crucial one in the next months.
We got a question, Fab, from one of our loyal listeners, Rafa Cardenas. He says, Fabrizio, what's going to happen with Cancelo at the end of the season? Any chance of Bayern Munich spending big money on him? That's a great question there because normally Bayern Munich, as we all know, they don't spend a ton of money on players. They do have a very strong roster as it is right now, but this is an intriguing situation because Cancelo's been good for them and is a good addition. But what about his future? Where does it lie?
Honestly, it's just opinion because at the moment, decision has not been made on Bayern side and also on Cancelo side. They just want to enjoy these months. Now with this Man City Bayern game is going to be special for the player and then they will decide at the end of the season. But from what I feel, speaking to some sources, I don't see Bayern triggering the 70 million euros buy option for Joao Cancelo. I think he will go back to Manchester City. And Bayern have to decide if they want to negotiate for a lower fee, maybe 30, 35, 40 million euros. Or if they will say, okay, it's fine, we have our players, and they will go with different fullbacks. And in that case, keep an eye on La Liga clubs for Joao Cancelo, because it was already discussed with Real Madrid in January, but they decided to stay with the same squad, not to sign any player in the January transfer window. And then we know the connection between Juan Laporta, Barcelona president, and Jorge Mendes, the agent of Joao Cancelo. Special relationship. There was a meeting in Porto a few days ago to discuss also about Joao Cancelo. In January, it was not possible because of the financial fair play, but if Cancelo goes back to Man City, is one to watch for Barcelona too.
Fab, very quickly, one of the teams I'm very high on is Benfica. All of us are. What's the latest with Gonzalo Ramos? Because this guy has been a star in the Champions League and a rising star for Portugal.
Top player, I agree with you. And this is why Benfica are very happy with the release clause they included into the contract, because 1 year ago it was like a crazy clause. The value of the player was around 35, 40 millions. But now the release clause, which is the same one of Enzo Ferrandez, so 120 million euros in one solution. At the moment, Benfica have no intention to negotiate with any club. They say there is a clause, and so if some club wants Gonzalo Ramos, they have to come here, convince the player, and pay the clause. This is the position of Benfica. Let's see if it will change in the summer, but this is what they state in this moment. I can tell you that last summer, Newcastle approached the player. Also, Paris Saint-Germain were thinking of him before bringing in Ekitike. But at the moment, I would say he's one to watch for Premier League clubs too, because there are many Premier League clubs keeping an eye on him. For example, Manchester United scouts have been following this player for a really long time. And there are also other clubs around Europe monitoring him. But again, Benfica are very happy with the contract situation until, with the release clause of 120 million euros. So it's going to be complicated to sign Gonzalo Ramos, I think.